What's up, family? We're going to get ready to get this thing started today. Smash up the likes. Smash up the likes. Hit that notification bell. We are live. And I'm coming at you with 5. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try and keep this thing rolling. I'm about to come on screen in a minute. If you love me for my time, you can pay me for my time. The Cash App is in the link right there, ladies and gentlemen. At the bottom, you see that ticker. That's for the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. As you know, YouTube, ScrewTube has shadow banned this channel. So if you would like to contribute and donate to me, that is always a great thing. We're live on Facebook, X, and Rumble. Shout out to my family, especially on X, because y'all hold it down for brother. X, I have gotten, say what you want about Elon Musk, but my views have gone up ever since he's taken over Twitter, and we called it X. So praises to, I won't say praises, but just say I'll give a thumbs up to Elon Musk for that one. Let's do that. Yeah, I'm not so quick to send praises to him, but I agree with him on that part, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on, and we're going to come on the screen here. Of course, we got something sensitive. We're talking about a couple of things that I'd like to get into tonight, trying to keep this to at least an hour and a half or less, because I have some stuff I got to work on for tomorrow. We're going back to work Monday. Not looking forward to it. Most people aren't looking forward to going back to work on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about making sure my camera is on and you all can hear me loud and clear. Please give me, or you all are on X, so I wouldn't necessarily see you. But I want to talk about something before we get into how a culture failed Brother Caleb Wilson. Some updates on some stuff, because there's some things that has happened recently in the last 24, 48 hours, especially that I've seen. The last 48 hours, of course, in the topic section and description, I talked about Gene Hackman, the actor who passed away, along with his wife, Betsy Akara, who died actually back in February. Apparently, they had been dead for quite some time, sadly. They had passed on. And what the doctors have stated, they ruled out any foul play. And eventually what they're saying is Mr. Hackman had advanced Alzheimer's disease, but he passed away from heart disease. So apparently, especially when you're talking about somebody who is in their 90s, 95 years old, that is a very long life. And obviously our elderly, they're more fragile at this point. But his wife, sadly, from what they're saying, had passed before he did. And because the last rating that they had from his pacemaker, from his heart monitor, because Gene Hackman had heart surgery before from the pacemaker, they saw that last time it was active was about February 18th. However, they put the time of death for Miss Akara, Mrs. Hackman, actually a week, I believe at least a week prior to. So sadly, she had passed, and Mr. Hackman, who has Alzheimer's, is walking around the house or in a room not knowing where he was. And they were found by I believe some lawn care workers, people that were working around the mansion, and they looked through the window and saw their bodies were on the floor. So what they stated is Mrs. Hackman passed away from something called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. And she was 65 years old. And what that means, essentially, hantavirus is a disease, is a virus that can affect people, especially in that region, because this is in New Mexico. So especially in Nevada, the West, where it's dry climate, when you come in contact, it's a rare disease, it's very rare, with exposure to rodents, like mouse droppings or stuff like that. They're spread by rodents, and they're not spread by persons. So what likely happened is Miss Akawa probably came into contact with some furniture or some items in the house that where mice had been in, and unfortunately she got exposed to it and caught hantavirus syndrome, and that killed her. Whereas Mr. Hackman had passed on from heart disease and complications from Alzheimer's disease and from natural causes. Now, I feel so terrible for Mr. Hackman and his wife passing, because to pass that in that situation like that, and especially when he has 3 adult children. Now, I don't know what their relationship, according to what we've seen from the statements that were released, what his relationship was like with his kids. But you would think, this is me speaking, if my father or my mother, your parents were elderly and they had some type of illness or ailment, you would do a wellness check on them periodically. So I'm saddened to see that seems like that didn't happen. But the experts were talking about this. So hold on, and I got to step out for a second because it sounds.
For Miss Betsy Hackman, aged 65 years, is hantavirus pulmonary syndrome.
Fair use.
The manner of death is natural. The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor.
So their bodies were found on February 26th. I told y'all I love Gene Hackman on February 26th. Apparently that was when Mr. Hackman had passed, when the bodies were discovered, but he had passed some days prior. And he obviously he fell, from what it seems, from all intents and purposes, because they found his cane on the floor next to him. And nobody was able to, sadly, rescue him. A close friend of the couple by the name of Tom Allen had revealed that it was impossible for Hackman to call anyone because he did not own a phone and was uninterested in technology. He said, quote, "This is so sad. Mrs. Hackman died and Gene was so far advanced with his Alzheimer's that he was wandering around and didn't eat," an insider said, hinting at Hackman's debilitating illness, which was also a significant factor in his death. So what they're saying, that's a picture of Betsy Akarawa and Gene Hackman. So they said it was probably around February 11th when Mrs. Hackman passed. And for Gene, it was probably, he is believed to have died on February 18th. So it's sad to hear, but hold on, y'all. I got to step out for a minute. Hold on. All right, I'm sorry, y'all. I had family in town, so I had to step out for a minute. So, but yeah. So, in other words, what happened essentially, he had Alzheimer's, and sadly, something happened to the wife, the one person who could take care of him immediately, and nobody was there, and the bodies were discovered by Jesse Kessler. And I believe they're still trying to look at the dog as to what caused his death, but it would seem, and now the other dogs were found alive that were outside, but this particular dog Xena, was found dead in the crate, which probably means he didn't either get enough food or water at that time. If it had been over 2 weeks since his passing, since his owners had passed. But rest in power to Gene Hackman. But this is a lesson. This is a lesson, especially for our family members, especially if you have an elderly family member, a caretaker. Check up on them. I'm not trying to blame the family, but we got to do better checking on our elderly. Check on them at least 3 times or 4 times out of the week, man. If you got parents, check on them at least once in the day, each day, I should say, because especially if they live by themselves. You got to be more active with him. And if he had Alzheimer's disease, I'm assuming the whole family knew about it. I don't think he was estranged from from his kids for all intents and purposes. But sometimes these things happen. More often than not. Especially if you have relatives that live a distance away. It's difficult if you have kids who live away from their parents and they're elderly. I've had clients who are like that. But check on your family, man. Try and check on them at least once in a day, every day. So please do so. Feel better about yourselves and to take care of them. Smash up the like, smash up the like, smash up the likes. But rest in peace, Gene Hackman. I told y'all my favorite Gene Hackman movie, of course, was none other than Mississippi Burning. I thought that was some of his best work. I also loved him in, I said Mississippi Burning. I loved him in Superman because to me, he was Lex Luthor. So shout out to him. May he rest in peace. The other news we got to talk about, family, and warning we got to give is for Black men, especially who are athletes. Hold on a second. I can't. Xavier Worthy. I don't know if you all, this was an update. Xavier Worthy, if you follow football, is a star wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He had gotten arrested over the weekend after his fiance filed charges against him for domestic abuse, domestic violence. Now, there's some things that you should know about this. Now, there's some things you should know. I know you're hearing that. And Xavier is a rookie. Xavier just came out in the NFL. He was a rookie from Texas. He was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs this past year. And he's been a target for Patrick Mahomes pretty good. His girlfriend is a track and field athlete named Tia Jones, who is his fiance. Now, on March 7th, he was arrested for alleged assault, basically, of Tia. And it came out that, especially from his attorneys and what happened, we'll just let the video play here. But this is a lesson for all you brothers, especially when you are athletes and you have your career ahead of you. Don't pick the finest thing that comes up to you. I know he probably went to school with this young lady. But you all, and I know I got some female listeners who are on here, but y'all know this too, how wicked a lot of females can be. I didn't say all, so I don't want anybody saying I'm a hater of women, I'm a misogynist, I'm sexist. Y'all know, because even y'all women know how bad don't like some of these your females. A lot of you women don't like your fellow females that share X chromosome. So this video here, I want to play this. This is a lesson for all my brothers, especially in college, who are star athletes. Listen carefully to what happened to this brother.
The City Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy has been released from jail after he was arrested for felony domestic abuse. The charges were dropped this afternoon by a district attorney in Texas. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Action News After the Game. I'm Nick Garcia. Let's start with Action News reporter Vince Ibarra at the live desk with what we know about the arrest and how fans are reacting to the news. Vince.
Well, Nick, when we initially started reporting on this story, Xavier Worthy was said to be behind bars for alleged domestic dispute. Now, like you mentioned, the Central High graduate has since been released from jail. These allegations had local fans disappointed that the 21-year-old was accused of this type of crime.
Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy was released from a Williamson County, Texas jail on Saturday after allegations of felony domestic abuse. Action News has learned a Texas district attorney decided not to pursue the charges any further. Still, the news about the 21-year-old was upsetting to fans.
And then seeing the news and what happened is shocking.
On Friday, Worthy was arrested and charged with assault on a family or household member in which their breath was impeded. After the wide receiver was arrested, his lawyer released a statement that said the unidentified woman who made the complaint had been living with Worthy the past 2 weeks.
No, it's not an unidentified woman. We know who the woman is. It's Taya Jones. Based off what we've read, the information that's come out in articles that I've seen, they've accused Miss Jones of they say alleged, and I don't know why they're saying alleged, but based off what I'm reading from the articles from essentially sports and so forth, he was accused of domestic assault against her, and reality is he said that she was the one that had assaulted him and pulled out his hair. So what they've stated and what his attorneys released is that he had been trying to get this woman out of his mansion for the last couple of weeks because he found evidence that she was allegedly committing adultery or infidelity. They weren't married, but let's say infidelity against him. And he, I guess, accused her of being violent and assaulting him, pulling out his hair. And I'm going to share the article with you. I'm going to let the video finish. But he decided not to press charges against her. But guess what? She wanted to press charges against him. So guess what? He tried to help her, but she goes and presses charges against him. They arrest him. He spends the night in jail. And this video, and even if the charges were dropped, the fact that it's gone public, the fact that we're talking about it, does damage to his reputation. Because there are going to be people in the public who are going to say, well, I think even though the charges were dropped, there are going to be a few people who think, yeah, I think he did something. They're covering up for that boy. That happens. So Xavier Worthy, I'm going to let this video finish. But you gotta watch these females.
The woman was asked to leave Worthy's house after he discovered she was unfaithful to him. The attorney went on to say the woman allegedly damaged a room in his home. They say the woman became violent by allegedly scratching Worthy's face and ripping some of his hair out.
Was really proud to see somebody from Fresno get to play with such a great team like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Worthy is considered a hometown hero, attending Central East High School and recently offering a free meet and greet autograph signing for fans at Granite Park in Central Fresno.
And one thing people we spoke with also said is violence is never the answer. We do want to share a reminder that support is available around the clock for anyone experiencing domestic violence. There are numbers now listed on your screen. In Fresno County, you can call the Marjorie Mason Center, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. We now switch to sports anchor Alec Nolan, who has a look at Worthy's rookie season performance. Alec?
As Vince mentioned, just 2 weeks ago, Worthy was back in Fresno hosting a free autograph signing for more than 4,000 fans. His mother, Nikki Jones, telling us the family is planning to start a foundation to give back in even more ways. In just his first season in the NFL, Worthy made it all the way to Super Bowl 59. Despite the loss to the Eagles, Worthy walked away as the lone bright spot for Kansas City, catching all 8 of his targets for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns to his name, a moment his mother said catapulted him to another level of popularity. The Chiefs came to rely on Worthy in part because of a season-ending injury to teammate Rashee Rice, who came off as an impressive rookie season of his own last season. Last March, a similar situation for one of the Chiefs' other bright young stars, both occurring in Texas. Rasheed Rice and another driver were involved in a high-speed car crash that triggered a chain reaction on a highway in Dallas. Rice is currently facing at least 2 civil lawsuits, along with numerous criminal charges for his role in the wreck. His court date is set for June
All
as
of
he
these Kansas City Chiefs players getting in trouble. Damn. It's open season. So Xavier Word. So I'm glad that the brothers' charges were dropped. Now, y'all, this is a lesson. This is a lesson. Now, I'm looking at Taya Jones. She was a track and field star. It looks like I think how they met was in college. And it looks like she was a track and field star. She's a track and field star. She was in the Junior Olympics in 2016. So a lot of these athletes, yeah, they meet somebody they with in college and so forth. So she competes in hurdling and sprinting events. Now I'm trying to be careful because they say allegedly, but I'm looking at the video, the articles. I'm looking at the articles, and they say that this is Miss Jones. And supposedly there was a cryptic message. So the article I'm looking at was Newsbreak. Although Newsbreak, they seem, and I'm just reading it and looking at it, they try, especially guys, when you read these articles from some of these purported places. So this is courtesy of Black Sports Online. You can tell it looks like they seem to take the side of the accuser, usually the female, in a situation like this. So now they didn't publicly name the woman, I should say. So maybe that's why they're stating this. However, the legal team released a statement that painted a different picture. And the attorneys, Lewis and Bassett, the complainant, was recently asked to leave Worthy's residence after he discovered her infidelity, which they say was supported by video evidence from a private investigator. The statement alleges she refused to vacate, instead engaging in a number of extortive efforts before making what they call a baseless allegation against Worthy. The attorneys go farther, asserting that the complainant physically attacked Worthy, scratching his face, ripping out his hair, and destroying a room in his home, and claims they are backed by photographic evidence. Now, the statement concludes with the pledge to cooperate with Williamson County authorities, expressing confidence that a thorough investigation will vindicate their client. So, and then when you read the article, the attorneys they say the lawyer's statement is a classic opening move in high-profile legal defenses, shift the blame, question the accuser's credibility, and promise that evidence that has yet to be released. Well, the reason evidence hasn't been released yet is because there could still be pending charges against this woman. Now, in fairness, and I have said that it was Miss Jones, they don't indicate it in the complaint, but I'm reading it from Black Sports Online. I'm by the article by Robert Littall, who published this. He's saying this being reported is the fiance that was the one who's the party that they're referring to. Now, what happens typically in domestic violence cases, they don't like to name the alleged victim. Usually they'll put the victim there. But hey, if you did all of this stuff and you're accusing your man of assault, knowing that you were lying, knowing it was false and you were the aggressor, I think they need to put their name on blast. So I'm glad that this brother at least is out on jail. It could have ended differently. A lot of people, we know a lot of men who get accused of domestic violence, whether they're guilty or not, they get accused of it. Just having that allegation against them is enough to get them cut from the team, because what they say in the NFL, you violated the shield. You damaged the reputation of the shield just by getting arrested. And the presumption of innocence does not apply in the NFL. You can be suspended. You can be kicked off a team. You can get cut. That happened. Look at the NBA with that Porter Jr. kid with the who got accused of domestic abuse battery, who played for the Houston Rockets. I believe the woman was the sister of Dwayne Haskins, the late quarterback for the Washington Commanders. That was his potential. No, they weren't married or engaged, but she was the one that threatened him. And the girlfriend even denied that she got assaulted of some sorts. But it didn't stop Stephen A. Smith and others from talking about how he shouldn't have a career and so forth based off the accusation. I remember punk ass Stephen A. Smith saying something like that along those lines. And y'all saw Stephen A. Smith got checked by LeBron James, huh? Stephen A. Smith got checked by LeBron a couple of days ago for saying stuff about his son Bronny. Now, whether y'all think LeBron James would have attacked Wendy, that guy, or any other white commentator, that's another story. But Stephen A. Smith got checked. They got to start checking these. They got to start checking these fools. Yeah. And by the way, Stephen A. Smith. So this is the article. This was Black Sports Online. And I'm going to put the article there because they're implicating Miss Jones from here. Because the title says, Tyre Jones drops cryptic hint on social media after NFL boyfriend Xavier Worthy arrested over assault. So they said here he would have till March 8th to appear before a judge, but that's not the case. The prosecutors dismissed the charges. If they dismissed the charges, they probably felt in screening it, it wasn't supported by probable cause. So Xavier Worthy put this tweet out earlier this morning. Y'all could see here. He said prayers. Yeah, this stuff is dangerous. I just say this to the brother and the young sister, and I know I was coming at her, and I'm looking at the video. I was looking at, and I was basing that off the article I read. No, they didn't name her, so I'm gonna be careful with my words, but I'm going off what I saw in the articles. They were saying, especially if you read Essential Sports as well as newsbreak.com, the way it appeared was that she was the one. This is her. So just going based off that information, I'll just say this, brothers, when you're in your 20s, early 20s, you ain't got to get married right now. Enjoy your life. Live your life. Go out while you're still young. Play the field. Yes, I will say that. You got a career ahead of you. Got your whole life ahead of you. Stay away from them girls. You're 22, 23. Yeah, because stuff like this could have been even worse. And I'm just grateful that the charges were dropped. But again, who got time to address all this stuff? And if you go on ESPN or Fox, the minute these things break, they acting like you did it. But y'all are my source. Y'all see where it says here, Xavier Worthy claims that his fiancee, Taya Jones, assaulted him and pulled out his hair. So that's what I'm basing this on. But I'm glad they, shout out to him. Yeah, people are going in. Yeah, she fumbled the bag. Before it started. All right, so I'm putting the articles here, ladies and gentlemen, so y'all can go there. Let's go ahead and get this in. Shout out to all my people on Rumble. Hope y'all are doing blessed. So we're going to go ahead. We were talking about Xavier Worthy, but I can't see myself on the screen. I don't know what's going on, fam. When I come on the screen, it goes black. It looks like my numbers are going down because I had 31 people. Now I see 9. So we restarted back. But let's go ahead and talk, ladies and gentlemen, about our main topic tonight. It does me no joy in doing this because as a Louisiana boy, myself, a native, a graduate of Southern University, Baton Rouge. Southern is my home, it's my family. My Baton Rouge is like adopted family to me. I lived in Baton Rouge for over 11, 12 years. Right after the flood, I went to law school at Southern in 2014. I graduated undergrad in 2008. And for the most part, I got along with everybody. And I had friends. And let me preface my remarks because tonight is not going to be an easy subject. And some people, I might step on some toes. Tonight might tick people off. And they may even unfriend me. They may even say, Gavin, I had deals and stuff that I was supposed to do with them. And they may be a part of some of these fraternities or sororities and organizations and won't do business with me. And that's fine. That's fine. And let me be clear. Also, I'm well aware in saying that I already know there are a lot of people in these organizations who are very good people that have helped, and when I say in these organizations, I'm talking about people that have pledged in their undergrad, and I'm talking about some of my good friends I have fellow attorneys, judges that I know who are Phi Beta Sigma, Omega Psi Phi, Alpha Phi Alpha. I know some Deltas, I know all of them. The Boule, I have a judge and colleague I know who's Boule, and so forth. And this is not an indictment against them personally. But I am talking about a culture that has festered, especially in the Black community, that in large part has failed. And it failed, and it's saying by failure, I'm talking about it failed to protect its own, which should be the first and foremost requirement of adults for young men and young women who are pledging in these sororities and fraternities, and especially kids who are like Caleb, who are 20 years old, 19 years old, that are impressionable because they want to feel like they're part of a clique, feel wanted, and have camaraderie. They also want these letters because they know it can impress people. And I'm going to tell y'all, if you are a Black attorney, especially and I'm just talking in general, a Black professional, part of your success comes from the fact you're members of some of these organizations. Jack and Jill, the AKAs, the Deltas, the fraternities, the Alpha Phi Alpha. I mean, I know quite a few Omegas who are lawyers and judges. And that being said, those same people who are professionals, they also, guess what? They're on the Board of Regents at Southern. They're the chancellors. They're the vice chancellor. They work in the office. They're political administrators. They work in government. Don't y'all think for a second that there weren't that they're on Omegas, former Omegas or alums of Southern or alums of Omega Psi Phi and Alpha Phi Alpha who don't know about the paddle. The stuff, the off-campus rituals that go on. There's a host of, they all know what goes on. And to limit liability if something happens, that's why they go off campus. Southern University likely is not going to, and Southern's my family, but I know I was on Southern's campus, and for those saying, well, you never pledged, you didn't experience it, I don't have to. I don't have to not have experienced your experience to not know that a motherfucker beating on somebody is wrong. Putting your hands on somebody is something you're not supposed to do. And it's important, yes, it is, and let me be clear, they are very rare. Hazing deaths are rare. It's not like it's happened often, although from 2017, and I can actually show you all results. I actually put it in the comments section earlier. If you look at the very top, theblackyouthproject.com, they talked about, now this is in 2017, so apparently it has yet to be updated, but there was, let's say, over 219 deaths due to hazing, and going back to the 70s was the earliest one, and guess what? The fraternity was Omega Psi Phi. Now, even if it's just one death, it's enough for a lot of people to cause pause. That's why, and of course, he was a white boy. They have the Max Gruber Act that was passed in 2017 to combat hazing in Louisiana. And so they passed that to protect kids, teenagers, from dying under these circumstances. Now, of course, it took a white boy to do it. That's when they usually will always pass these laws. And what I learned tragically from what happened with Caleb, this mirrors a movie that came out about 7 years ago on Netflix called The Burning Sands, or Burning Sands. And it was about Black Greek hazing at a HBCU. And the director of the movie is a man by the name, interesting enough, his name is McCray. Gerard McMurray. And McCray, I said McCray, it's McMurray. And Gerard McMurray is an Omega. And he did a movie about the violence that goes on with these with BGLOs, Black Greek letter organizations. Now, the Black Greek letter organizations do some good in the community. I can't deny that. I can't deny that they do. Yeah, they give their they do voter registration drives. They'll help out, do some homeless projects for the less fortunate. They may do a food drive, donations, and so forth. But yeah, that's good. But we're talking about, but what about this other shit? This other stuff. I'm focusing on what's wrong that you did. Why do you have to? I'm just trying to explain it to me. Now, I know Judge Joe Brown is an alpha. Judge is an alpha. Judge has come on here and he's explained to me what the issue with hazing was for him back in the day, and what they explained, that was going back to the civil rights era where they tried to train black men and women up from the Klansmen and so forth, especially when you were traveling down south. But that was in 1940s, 1950s. We living in 2025. What Klansmen you seeing coming around, coming for you for secrets? If anything, we telling them everything. Aren't there other ways you could be productive? Can't you do, if you feel like hazing, how about giving people, your pledgees, community service work in the neighborhood, cleaning up the New Orleans East area or Baton Rouge area, out in North Baton Rouge? And you know, some problems that a lot of people have, especially with I was talking with brother Ron Hurd, we were discussing this, is how is the rate, I gotta ask, with the symbol of black excellency that these Greek organizations are supposed to represent, how has the black race moved forward? We're last in health, we're last in wealth. We have broken families. How does that help? How does that joining a fraternity? I'm just trying to figure it out, or social clubs or whatever. How does that advance black people as a whole? Now, hazing, yes, goes on in white fraternities. Hell, the black sororities, especially the AKAs and Deltas, don't y'all think for a second they don't do it there. They do it there, even sometimes even worse. There have been deaths that have been reported. And for those wondering why I'm not going so hard, I've critiqued, I don't really like it all, whether it's white or black, but even the whites are actually, let's just put it this way. I'm familiar with the skull, like for instance, up at Yale. Yes, they got skull and bones. And practically a lot of United States presidents, a good number of United States presidents, like the Bush family, I think William Taft, the other former president, you have ambassadors, you have businessmen. I'm talking about big money, people that are that run oil companies, people that work in government, your own damn reporters from the New York Times, Washington Post, that are members of your columnists that are members of these secret societies like Skull and Bones. And purportedly, they do a lot of hazing. They do sick, even rituals, sexual rituals, from what I heard. It was reported, and so anybody can go look this up. So I'm not making this up, even with them. And I'm talking about them, the white ones too. I'm briefly, but Geronimo, Geronimo, there's a legend, and I believe this was even reported by NPR. The family of Geronimo, I think they were trying to sue Yale University because they had Geronimo's skull. This is according to the New York Times. They sued. So, yes, I'm not just so. And John F. Kennedy, the former president, before he died, he gave a speech. Now you can't see it because you got to log in and all of this crap, which I hate doing. But you can see that little headline there that Geronimo's heir sued Secret Yale Society over his skull. So I'm not making this up. So yes, there are a lot of these sick fraternities and these sororities. Now I'm just going to say it. They're sick. That do stupid stuff. But my experiences, you know, I've talked Masonic Lodge. That's something else too. That's something for a later date. Yeah, that's all part of that. Jack and Jill, I've mentioned that. Now I'm not familiar with that. What's the female version of the Masons is the Eastern Star. I've seen that too. Now I know people in these organizations. But I'm just wondering, and I'm talking especially about, you know, and like I said, I know brothers, I have brothers and sisters, I have family members who have pledged these Greek fraternities and so forth. But I'm wondering, and I get why they do it. It's also to establish relationships, like I said. Well, Spirit, I said I know some Masons who are not. I have some friends and colleagues who are in it. Of course, it depends on the degree of Masonry you're on. I'm familiar with it. I've seen some documentaries now, brother. We can talk about it later, but but let me focus on this thing with Caleb Wilson, because specifically and Omega Psi Phi. I don't want to get off topic, but I'm bringing this all in. The reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight and why I'm passionate about this was because I feel the loss for this young brother, that his life was taken so quickly and so short at a young age, who had, at 20 years old, I still remember being a 20-year-old student at Southern. And so I'm saddened that that happened to him. I'm saddened for his father, his mother, and especially his father, because look, I'm in a Zulu member. Now, there's not social clubs. I mean, we do some fun stuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a good time. I'm not against that. But the father, especially Corey, is my understanding. Corey is a member of Omega Psi Phi. So I think he's a member. I think Corey Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, he's a graduate of Southern, and I believe he pledged this chapter. So just imagine the double pain and heartache he is going through, that not only is his child deceased, but it is alleged to have been at the hands of the very fraternity he pledged brotherhood. You know, Omega Psi Phi's motto, and I had it, is friendship is loyal to the soul. Friendship is essential. I apologize. The motto is friendship is essential. I said loyal. It's essential to the soul. And their pillars are manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Omega Psi Phi, though it's not the oldest divine nine for Black men, it's the first that was specifically designed for Black men up at Howard University over 113 years ago. Friendship is essential to the soul. And Brother Andrew Wyatt, and I love Andrew. I love Dr. Cosby. I know the Omegas, Jesse Jackson, Shaq, Steve McNair, Ray Lewis. There are a lot of Omega. Jalen Hurts, the quarterback that just won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is an Omega. And so I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm talking about my experiences at Southern, because part of the reason why I didn't pledge, I would hear the stories of the men pledging there. And I'm talking, when I say hazing, not just being beat up, but also having the girl, wearing pajamas to class, forced to get up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning and do embarrassing tasks and so forth. Not brushing your teeth and having you not comb your, not wash your face, not to do things hygienic. They would do sit like that just to pledge. That happens. And yeah, they were clicked in with each other. They all stood with each other. I could stand alone as a man. I was a loner. And I was fine with that. And I thought about even pledging grad chapter. And y'all can just go online and look at it to stay. And I'm not just talking about the dudes to stay relevant, but to pledge. I was looking at Alpha Phi Alpha at one time, and to pledge that was daggone near. I said this before. It was over almost $3,000. That's a mortgage payment. It was expensive. It was expensive. Now, if you talk about professional chapters, they say it's not as bad, but I've heard stories about hazing even professionals. I can't repeat the information that I've heard or where I got it from, but I've heard that happen. That has happened in some of these chapters, and I heard supposedly it was in Omegas. I remember when that video that went viral a few years ago when they had the Omegas dancing in a warehouse, and it was all men. Y'all seen that video where they pants are off their ass? Now I know it's not every, and I want to be clear. It's not every Omega. I know a lot of Omegas. I'm not knocking you as persons. Those, especially a couple of judges, Judge Adams and so forth. I know y'all. Andrew, if you're watching it, I know y'all. I'm not knocking you as a person, but I'm talking about the organizations as a whole. I'm asking questions about especially the culture that has persevered, and it seems negatively. Because they say, well, it's just this one incident. And I'm talking specifically also about those that choose their letters over morality. I really wouldn't be talking so much and so long and passionately about this if I didn't tell y'all what happened yesterday. Because I had a member of Omega Psi Phi who was going back and forth with me on a Facebook post because I stated I was upset at those who would rather defend their Greek letters and organization. They going out talking about, this ain't my experience. This ain't not. It don't have to be your experience. Bullshit. I call bull on it. Because I know damn well, especially if you graduated from the 50s and 60s or 70s, you went, or even damn sure in the 80s, because Spike Lee even talked about it in School Days. That stuff with Hell Week. I've heard about Hell Week. Let's be real about this. You know how many I saw, and shout out to him. I saw Dr. Ritchie, and I don't really care for the Young Turks, but he did a very interesting breakdown and commentary about this. Now, that young man, the man who was accused of Caleb's death, we'll talk about him, Caleb McCray. We'll talk about him in a minute. But I went to St. Augustine High School, and this person was trying to say, well, you got spanked or disciplined at St. Augustine. What was the difference? Essentially, that was the question he was asking me, trying to compare, I guess, the rituals and stuff they go through at Omega Psi Phi with what happened at St. Aug, which was a facile argument. It made no sense. And I'm going to explain to you why, because St. Augustine High School is just that, and that's the key word. High school. They disciplined. It was by those Josephites, the Catholic priest who ran it. Since 1951, they got rid of the board back in 2011. The Archbishop Amon asked for it to be removed. But for over 60 years, they were kids who went through there, more likely than not, everybody got paddled. Now, I didn't get it as much, and most of the time I was a good student. I was honor roll. I never really had a problem. It was other kids that usually would cause trouble. And if, back in the day, if they couldn't figure out who the culprit was, if a teacher couldn't figure out who the one person that did something wrong was, guess what? Everybody did it. Everybody got whipped. And that was not a hazing ritual, if you want to say, or if you want to call it that. I don't compare it with adults standing in a line. You're 19, 18 years old, but you're an adult. You're in college. You're old enough to vote. Standing in line, butt naked, with grease on your ass and getting hit with a paddle. And in this case, from what the allegations are, they did this off campus in a warehouse that was owned by a Baton Rouge councilman who for the sake of argument, because I don't have any information, I'll say he didn't know he was co-owning it with another individual named Todd Smith, whose son is an Omega. That's what was reported by WBRZ out in Baton Rouge. That's the news that was reported to everyone, and that hadn't changed. And you're going to see the police press conference. They reported that even after Caleb was allegedly punched by these individuals, now we don't know all the facts, no autopsy report has come out. And yes, I will just reiterate, are these people innocent until proven guilty? Absolutely. I'm a lawyer. Of course they're innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to throw rock. I'm not here to debate their guilt or innocence. I'm going to say they're innocent until proven otherwise, beyond a reasonable doubt. I'd like to see what the autopsy report is. If they're saying, if it comes back, let's just say for the sake of argument, if the autopsy report would have come back, or another autopsy report that said Caleb may have had some type of undisclosed condition that caused his death and necessarily it was not a homicide or anything like that, okay, fine. If those are supported by the facts, I can live with that. But what makes this worse is the fact that, although that's not what has been reported so far to me, but what makes this worse is that they apparently tried to cover this up by not calling 911 immediately. That was the first. That was that second mistake. The first mistake, of course, was hazing, because it's illegal to do so. It's illegal to haze. That's the law in the state of Louisiana as of 2018. You're not supposed to haze, which is why this was unsolicited. Which also makes this worse, and you're going to see in the report, they actually lied to the police saying it happened at Breck Park out in Sherwood Forest. Now, if anybody from Baton Rouge knows, if you're talking about Southern University to Sherwood Forest, that's all the way, depending on, I guess, the direction you go in, what street, but that's roughly 20, I would say, if you're taking I-10, I-12, that's a 20 to 25 minute ride. It is far from the university, probably a little longer. The quickest way to get to Sherwood Forest usually is I-12, but people can go airline. You can go through Millerville or other Monticello and so forth, but that would be more of a scenic route. But it can take a while to get there. Even if you're going Highway 60 to airline, you're stopping at the red lights. How did that make any? That story didn't even make sense, that they would be all the way at that park. And by the way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I remember being on Southern's campus before, around Baton Rouge. There were other parks. They said he wanted to go play basketball. There were other parks or facilities, I think, closer that they could have gone to. But I want y'all to look at this. So this was the, we're going to play this. This is from the press conference. This was the press conference in Baton Rouge, fair use. Okay? So I want y'all to listen carefully.
Fox 813 on the East Coast and 513 on the West Coast. One arrest made, and at least two more are expected in connection with the death of a 20-year-old Southern University student after an off-campus fraternity hazing ritual that is according to Baton Rouge. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox 813 on the East Coast and screen. We know from officials, they said, quote, Caleb Wilson died as a direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging. Fraternity member Caleb McCray, 23 years old, arrested Thursday evening, faces charges of manslaughter and felony criminal hazing in the death of Wilson, a mechanical engineering junior at the school who died in late February. Baton Rouge Police providing a news conference here where they did give some more information about
another thing too. The gentleman who was accused, Caleb McCray, he is actually a member of the Louisiana National Guard. And he graduated. He's 23 years old. It's tragic and a shame, but this is an adult. Hold on.
about the arrest and the situation in general.
Over the past several days, detectives with our Baton Rouge Police Department have been working tirelessly around the clock and with cooperation from the District Attorney's Office and leadership at Southern University to bring some answers to the family and loved ones of band member and engineering student Caleb Wilson. Detectives have interviewed over a dozen people and executed multiple search warrants to gather as much information as possible. As many of you know, Baton Rouge Police Department was first made aware of the death of Caleb Wilson by medical staff at Baton Rouge General Hospital on February 26th around 2:40 a.m. Initial reports indicated that Caleb Wilson was dropped off at the emergency room by a group of males that stated he collapsed while playing basketball at a Breck Park located at 3140 North Sherwood Forest Boulevard. All of those subjects left prior to officers' arrival. Through diligent efforts during their investigatory process, BRPD detectives uncovered that the location reported initially was not accurate, and that the alleged incident, in fact, occurred at a warehouse located at 3412 Woodcrest Drive. And Caleb Wilson died as a direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging to Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Through further investigation, BRPD detectives developed several suspects involved in the incident. This is still an active and ongoing investigation, so additional warrants and persons involved cannot be ruled out at this time. Last night, one of the suspects, Caleb McCray, turned himself in with his attorney and was booked into East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. McCray has been charged with criminal hazing and manslaughter. Again, this is still an active and ongoing investigation with more arrests forthcoming. We will be updating the media and the community as these arrests occur. I ask that you all continue to keep this family in your prayers as our Baton Rouge Police Department continues to investigate and try to bring answers to this family about what happened to Caleb and arrest those that are responsible. Thank you. I'm going to have the Mayor President step up and give a few remarks. Mayor.
Good morning. I echo the chief. These are days and times that we don't want to have to deal with. I was blessed to meet the family. Had a private meeting with Caleb's mom, dad, grandma, and uncle. One of too many meetings I've had since I've been in office with young people that we're losing way too soon. The main message I want to put is from the mayor's office and the city of Baton Rouge's prayers for the family during this time. I want to thank Southern University, the chief, the district attorney, and everyone involved for their hard work. You know, my message to Baton Rouge is we got to do better, Baton Rouge. We got to do better. We feel like sometimes we take one step forward and two steps back. It's a sad day to use such a promising young life. And I encourage all the young people out there to make better decisions. So here again, we hate having these family meetings. We got to do better, Baton Rouge. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dennis Shields, and I serve as the president of Southern University System. Words
I know Dennis
cannot express how deeply.
Chancellor Pierre, y'all can't see it in this video, but the Chancellor of Southern University, Chancellor John Pierre, I know him very well. He's actually present there too. So hold on.
We are by the loss of our student, Caleb Wilson. Our collective thoughts and prayers continue to be with Caleb's family, friends, classmates, and all who knew and loved him. Southern University is very much appreciative of the efforts of the Baton Rouge Police Department under the leadership of Chief Morse and District Attorney Hilar Moore, who are working diligently to pursue justice for Caleb. The university will continue to fully and actively cooperate with law enforcement as this case moves forward. Our internal investigation and code of conduct processes adjudicating these events are ongoing. The Baton Rouge campus chapter of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity has been ordered to cease all activities. As I just noted,
they got to.
Student code of conduct, judiciary proceedings are underway.
Now, I just want to add, Mr. McCray has been charged, but there are also two other individuals, they're going to announce it, who are likely to be charged with criminal hazing as well. That was actually the development report from WAFB. If it's misdemeanors, they don't necessarily have to be booked in. They may be, if it's a misdemeanor criminal hazing, which it seems it would be, they can be issued a summons. A summons is basically a ticket. So it means you've been arrested when you've been given a summons, but a lot of people think being arrested means you have to be handcuffed. Not necessarily, but that's likely to happen too.
Anyone and any student organization found to be in violation will face prompt disciplinary action. In addition, every campus Greek organization is being informed that no additional membership intake can occur for at minimum the remainder of the academic year. We place the quality of the experience our students have on our campus, and we have high standards for that. And we intend to preserve those standards and act expeditiously to resolve this matter such that nothing like this happens again in the future. Thank you.
All right, you can ask your question. First on Motor Channel 9, can you guys say how many additional people could potentially be arrested? We're hearing conflicting reports. As many as 3 individuals, possibly more. Do you guys have a number of how many people operated?
Yeah, so let me first say I too have seen a lot of conflicting reports out there, none of which are coming from the Baton Rouge Police Department. So please get all of your news straight from us and wait for our official statements. Right now, we have 2 additional suspects that we are drawing up warrants for and working with their attorneys to turn themselves in later today. As that happens, we will update everyone on those arrests as well. But right now, this is still an ongoing investigation. There may be more suspects, but right now we have 2 that we are drawing up warrants for.
Can you talk about the collaboration? You said you guys interviewed a number of individuals. Were those individuals pledges, or were they actually the individuals who?
So I'm not going to give any information about the people that we interviewed, but the people that we did interview led us to this point where we were able to get the information to make these arrests.
Chris Joseph with Fox 8 New Orleans. Can you speak about the decision making on the charges, perhaps why he was on second-degree murder?
Yeah, so good question. In the state of Louisiana, we have 5 degrees of homicide. We have first degree of murder, first degree homicide, second degree homicide, manslaughter, negligent homicide, and vehicular homicide. In this case, manslaughter is the most appropriate charge in the state of Louisiana, being that there is no proof that we could come up with a specific intent to kill, but that the death was caused in direct relation to another felony that was being committed during that death, and that felony being the act of criminal hazing.
Related to those 2 other potential suspects, or maybe anybody else, do we have any reason to believe more than one?
Stop right there. I went over that Thursday with you all about that statute, the criminal hazing statute. We talked about that, and that's known as the Max Groover Act. And it is this law, it is that act that is going to be used in this case. So hazing is a felony. As a matter of fact, the Max Groover case, the people that were involved, one person, Matthew McQuinn, was convicted of negligent homicide. And he had previously been asked by other fraternity members to tone down interactions with pledges that they described as extreme and dangerous. And yeah, Max ended up dying basically from acute alcohol intoxication with aspiration. So he choked on alcohol. He had alcoholic poisoning. So 4 men were indicted. Yeah. 4 of the men were indicted on negligent homicide charges in March of 2018. He had to drink 100. He was forced to drink 190 proof alcohol if he had made mistakes. And his body was found the next day on September 14, 2017. And he was just one of a few other individuals that died in hazing rituals in 2017. There were about 18 to 20 participants. It was Phi Delta Theta. I think that fraternity was suspended from 2033. Now I wonder what's going to happen to this chapter of Omega Psi Phi. What's going to happen to them? And interesting enough, that interesting enough, this week is Founders Day, Founders Week for Southern University. This is Founders Week for Southern University. And I can't even imagine what the kids are going through on Southern's campus. They actually had video footage of the letters for the Omega Psi Phi chapter actually broken up in pieces. It's usually on the grounds of Southern. You see the Greek letters everywhere when you're walking. Yeah, they were knocked down. That's the Omega Psi Phi chapter. I think that's the beta. I've said that before. Is that the beta sigma? That's the Beta Sigma. Founded on February 7th, my birthday of all things, 1936. But I'm going to finish the video. Hold on.
All of that is still pending some more questions that are being happened. Like I said, we've done over a dozen interviews. More are coming as we continue to interview people. We might have some more information, and we might have further charges on further people.
Kind of a follow-up. Do we know how many people were at the event?
We do, but we're not ready to release that right now.
Right. It's still a criminal investigation.
Could you elaborate on how long the delay from the original incident to Caleb actually arriving?
Yeah, so that's all part of our investigation, and has gone into why we the charges that we have done. Don't have exact timeline that we're ready to release as far as when Caleb first collapsed at this warehouse and then when he arrived at the hospital. All of that is still kind of pending some questions that we're trying to follow up on. What I can say is that at no time did anyone call 911, attempt to call 911, or try to summon an ambulance to the warehouse to give him medical aid.
And that's going to be the tough part. I know Caleb McCray's defense lawyer too, Philip Robinson. He's an old friend. I'll say this. I know him. He's an old friend of mine. We actually went to undergrad together. I think he's a fine lawyer. He came out a few years after me with law school, but I saw they saw his statement, which I understood he had to give, and he's defending his client. Of course, Dr. Ritchie was commenting. He was doing a topic on it, and it showed Philip's picture, and Phil is an Omega, just FYI. So that came out too, that he was an Omega Psi Phi member. But he's a great lawyer. I think he's going to do good things, and who knows what will happen. This might be a case that does. We don't know the facts or evidence. He's obviously got to get his discovery. This may be something that might very well go to trial. We may see what happens. It also could be something that could be played out. We don't know who the other individuals are, possibly with the misdemeanor charges. They could very well be called to give state's evidence. Who knows? Yeah, allegedly took his life. I'd say alleged because I don't know all the facts, but they say he was the one that had the boxing glove and punched him last. That's what the allegations are.
And the second thing, could we know, is there any implication for Todd Smith, the part owner of the warehouse within?
Not right now. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be any charges coming for the individuals that made up the story about the park?
So again, all of that is kind of in an investigation process. There is no specific statute for lying, right? There are some things that we're looking at as far as maybe obstruction or other things, but that's still things that we're working through as we're gathering some more evidence and continue to investigate and ask questions.
How many people can you say might face charges?
Not sure right now.
Has there been a warrant already for such a warehouse?
Yeah, so we one of the warrants that we did conduct was at the warehouse, and this was a week ago, more than a week ago, before anybody else really knew that the warehouse even existed. We had already performed a search warrant and gathered evidence there. What evidence we gathered, again, I'm not ready to discuss, but we were able to get some evidence at the warehouse.
Two questions. First question, I'm Andre Shapoi with Unfiltered with Kieran.
Yes, sir.
First question, what's your message to the other college students out there?
Yeah, so this is a very serious incident, very serious law that I think is a good law for criminal hazing that people need to make sure that they're paying attention to. You can hear just from the administrative point of view, from Southern's leadership, and LSU would have the same kind of statements. But from our law enforcement side, we are going to enforce these laws whenever they're applicable and whenever it comes to our attention. And it is a felony charge.
Second is real quick for Hilar Moore. How does Max Gruber Act help in this case?
So it's one that we're going to consider because in the Max Gruber law, which is hazing, so it incorporates not only misdemeanor hazing, act of regular hazing, but also when hazing involves a great bodily injury or death. There is a felony component to hazing, and it carries up to 5 years. So that is a potential. However, in this case, at this point, at least one defendant was charged with misdemeanor hazing plus the felony manslaughter. Felony manslaughter is whenever a direct battery or a misdemeanor against the person is committed, and because of that, someone dies. That is a punch, and someone dies, it carries up to 40 years. There's also the potential of a negligent homicide. So it really depends on how the facts play out. And so in this case, the potential would be, again, it's ongoing. And, thanks again to the cooperation of Baton Rouge Police, but particularly to Southern University. I've been through a lot of hazing cases before, and I think I've probably had 40 phone calls with Chancellor Pierre and their office providing information to us to give to the police department. That's a very good cooperation. So it's possible, with all the other questions that you guys have asked, this case could go to the grand jury just to see where other things are out there. How did it get formed? Is this the first time it's ever happened? Why at this location? Who knew what? Who reported as quickly as they can? There are civil penalties in the Max Groover violation for the institutions as well, not necessarily the Southern University, but the corporate chapter. So there are a lot of things that are possibilities. It just depends on who comes forward and what information that we're provided and able to prove. So that's our possibility.
One last question.
Question for Dr. Shields, if possible. I know there's a student judiciary process, but are any of these students possibly facing expulsion?
Certainly that is a possible outcome, but we need to follow our due process rights, give the students notice that they're being accused of being outside of the code of conduct regulations, and we want to follow those rules, regulations, and due process. They have every right to that. So yes, the expulsion is one of the things that could happen. Also, that's a possibility for the Greek organization.
We kicked off campus.
Right.
Can you say how many students are currently being involved in that judiciary process?
It's too soon to identify how many. We're still conducting our own investigations and receiving more information on a regular basis.
Thank you.
All right, that was a news conference there with police over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, one person charged in connection with.
So that's that. Let me stop this. Now, this is a statement we have here from Caleb's attorney. He had found it out. They have more arrests that they say are on the way. But this is what's on courtesy of WBRZ. If y'all can read that, give me a thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all can see that, there we go. So his attorney, Philip Robinson, his bond was set for $100,000, $75,000 for manslaughter, $25,000 for criminal hazing. McCray's attorney, Philip Robinson, says, quote, he believes the bond is fair given that his client has no criminal history and is not a flight risk. He's a native of Texas, I believe, Wiley, Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So McCray's attorney stated, quote, the fact that my client voluntarily turned himself in, we feel that shows my client's willingness to seek the truth in this. The truth not only helps my client, but we hope it will help the Wilson family. Robinson went on further to say that this is an ongoing investigation. There's a lot of unknown and a lot of variables at this time, and we ask for patience and not a rush to judgment. I understand it affects a lot of people. We just ask everyone to wait until we know all the facts. He went on further to state that my client has gone through a traumatic event. My client has lost a friend. There's tragedy all around this situation. We think as the case goes on, more information will come out between their relationship, but this was not a targeted attack on Caleb Wilson by my client. He adds that he sends his deepest condolences to the family. So I get it. He's doing his job like I would. If Mr. McCray were my client, I would do the exact same thing. You wait until you get all the facts out. We're about due process. And this is a young man himself. I acknowledge he's 23 years old. And right now, and especially someone who's serving in the military, our armed services, that obviously is going to be in doubt with these charges, because you're talking about a homicide, which means he will likely get discharged from the military dishonorably if he's found guilty of this stuff. He'll likely get kicked out. His career likely is over, whatever, what I believe, can't remember what he graduated in, but these guys, y'all should know better. Especially if he's an attorney, if he's a graduate of Southern University. And they say that it's not over. They're saying it's about 15 to 20 people who were at that warehouse. It's 20 people. Yeah. So what that will never happen, Danielle. You ban those, then you're gonna have to get rid of all of the people in power that are there. Like I said, you can't get anything if you are a professional, black professional, especially in New Orleans or Baton Rouge. You can't be highly successful without interacting or being around some of these fraternities, these frat members. That's just the truth. They run a lot.
A Southern student who died last week.
Reporter Brianna Moore is in studio with new developments. Brianna, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, East Baton Rouge Sheriff Department has arrested Caleb McCray, and he is being charged with manslaughter and criminal hazing. McCray was a Southern University graduate and a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity incorporated. Now, you may remember, as we reported last week, Caleb Wilson died from a hazing ritual as he pledged an Omega Psi Phi fraternity chapter. Wilson allegedly died after being punched in the chest during a ritual at a warehouse. East Baton Rouge District Attorney Hilar Moore said around 15 to 20 people were at the warehouse where Wilson collapsed. This included fraternity members and pledges for Omega Psi Phi fraternity incorporated. District Attorney Moore says the coroner has to run more tests, but in his opinion, he feels the answer is clear.
There was no outward sign of physical damage or injury. All the indications are to us that the person died as a result of the activities that were going on that night.
Now, according to jail records, a bond amount for McCray has not yet been set.
Yeah, I've heard, guys, let's be real. I've heard, I have heard, now he's from Wiley, Texas. Now, I've heard some of the stories, especially of frat members, older frat members, that would, when there was a hazing event, they would come on the line and hit the line members as well. You can be successful. Let me be clear. I've been pretty successful with things without it, but a lot of people, let's face it, when you have relationships and connections with those who are in these organizations, they tend to look out for you. They tend to look out for their brothers and their sisters from time to time. And now I'm not depending on the circumstances, but that's a fact. They hanging clicks. If you went to the golf tournament, you saw this judge or you saw the mayor's in your fraternity, and you trying to get, let's say, a business, you want to get a permit to build an area, you're running through some trouble. Oh, My brother right there. Oh, my frat brother. Oh, yeah, we're going to look into this. Yeah, I wasn't interested at all. My best friend, he was interested in pledging. He was all into it. I wasn't. I had a cousin of mine one time. I believe he was with the Kappas, and I don't think he didn't finish school, but somehow or another, I think what happened with him, and this was before I was born, from what I told, this was at Xavier. He was part of a group, the Kappas over there. His name was the only one mentioned. A boy, something happened to a kid, I guess during a hazing ritual or something like that, or a wild party. And they didn't name anybody else but my cousin. And because he was named, Xavier University expelled him. They expelled him. I've heard stories of people. Someone was telling me a story about at Xavier, the Kappas were beating up some of the pledgees with the canes, and the pledgee fought back. He just dropped out, said, I can't do that. When I was at school at Southern, I saw the Kappas firsthand. Witnessed this with my own eyes when I was a sophomore at Southern University, 2005, 2006. I would see these men fighting each other. I would see the Kappas and Alphas fight each other, and they would get suspended. Yeah. So it's happening everywhere, and it is this culture. I have to say this though to the brothers of Omega. I'm curious. Now that Caleb has passed, sadly, are they going to? And of course, he's a pledgee. He wasn't a member at this point, but are they willing? Is Omega Psi Phi planning to pay for the funeral? Are they offering to Corey Wilson and his wife, Caleb's mother? And I'm sorry, I don't know your name, ma'am. I don't know. I'm assuming you two were married. If not, I don't think they may have not been. But nevertheless, are they going to pay for the funeral burial cost? They're going to give money to Caleb's family. I will say something very positive about the Alphas I like, since we talk about good stuff. The Alphas did pay for Mike Brown's funeral. Mike Brown, the black kid that was shot by that punk ass cop out in St. Louis. And his name escapes me right now. And y'all know who I'm talking about. I said St. Louis, but it was out in Missouri. Who else we're talking about? While we're at it, we're also discussing they did pay for that. But overall, what else have you seen? So if this is the brotherhood we're talking about, well, you say friendship is essential to the soil. To my Omega brothers, I say this in closing. If this is the friendship, is this the type of friendship you're keeping where you abandon your brother, a pledgee, when he needs you the most? This is the friendship you need that y'all are talking about. You can keep it. And Caleb was in a band fraternity. Yeah, up at Southern, I think they had banned that band too, because that's exactly what happened. I know what you're talking about, Danielle. I think they actually, back in 2006, 2007, Southern University had banned that band fraternity. But don't y'all think for a second that stuff still don't go on. The human jukebox, there's a lot of discipline that's required playing in that band. Just like it was at St. Aug with the Marching 100. There's a lot of discipline being in a band you have to have. And they were known for, and Southern, they had the fraternities there. They were known, I heard, for hazing. You saw that even in Drumline, the movie Drumline with Nick Cannon. Yeah, I'd heard of people who've pledged, even graduate chapel, that have gotten black and bruised. So It's not, all this shit for some letters, man. It's not worth it at the end of the day. Yeah, that's exactly what I say. That's a game. That sounds just like it. They wear suits and ties. Yeah. Well, the biggest gangsters, though, is the Skull and Bones. Just look at that. All right. We're going to wrap this thing up. Yeah, but if that's the type of that wasn't brotherhood, if you're abandoning, allegedly, I'm going to say it because for all intents and purposes, that's the facts that happened because the story kept changing. Somebody was covering up something. Now, who and what, we'll find out. If it was this man, we'll find out based off the evidence. But we know one thing. Caleb Wilson is deceased. Caleb Wilson is deceased and ain't coming back. He was alive when he went in that warehouse, and he didn't make it out. So somebody's got to answer for that. Anyway, guys, this has been another edition of Random Topic Sundays. I'm glad to converse with you, whoever you are, wherever you are. I hope you're blessed and do it safe. Thank you if you're joining me on Rumble, on YouTube, or ScrewTube, as I call it, or X. Please make sure you smash up the likes, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Also, subscribe to the Rumble channel. It's Random Topics. And hit that notification bell when we go live. All right. That's right, Bella. You cannot bring someone back. Thank you, Spirit of Justice. Thank y'all. Right. Well, if you look at the article, look at my comment section, the first comment, I posted a link about how many deaths have happened at Greek fraternities, black and white. And in 2017, the number was about 219 that have died. And I think the numbers go back from the 40s, although when we talk about the black fraternities, the earliest ones from what I've seen was in 1977. And that was an Omega Psi Phi, and it was up in North Carolina. But it's real out here, family. So y'all be safe and be blessed, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.